Welcome back to Fusty Stories. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and get ready for another story you won't forget. Let's dive back to the story. Victoria Stanton's life was the epitome of opulence. As the heiress to Stanton Enterprises, she had everything. Luxury cars, sprawling estates, and a fleet of hotels that dotted London's skyline. Her days were a whirlwind of board meetings, strategy sessions, and charity galas, leaving little room for personal indulgence. Despite her wealth, she felt a gnawing emptiness, a longing for someone who could see past her fortune and admire the woman behind the empire. Her assistant often joked that Victoria's heart had been as meticulously managed as her finances, but in truth, she secretly yearned for excitement, a spark that had eluded her amidst the cold walls of her corporate world. On this fateful afternoon, as sunlight poured through grand windows of her penthouse, Victoria received a message that would begin a chain of events neither she nor London would ever forget. Alexander Cavendish, a charming clubman with a notorious reputation, was a man who thrived on attention. Known across London's nightlife for his magnetic presence and flirtatious nature, he had never sought permanence, preferring fleeting moments and easy conquests. Yet, on this very afternoon, destiny intervened. Their worlds collided at a charity fundraiser, where Victoria's discerning eyes immediately caught the sly confidence in Alexander's grin. She was captivated, a rare occurrence, and despite his history as a charming opportunist, she felt an unfamiliar flutter in her chest. Little did she know, Alexander saw not the woman behind the empire, but the fortune that could elevate his lavish lifestyle. What started as a chance encounter would spiral into a storm of passion, deception, and danger, setting the stage for a betrayal that would shock everyone in London society. Victoria Stanton had always been cautious with her heart. She had learned that in the world she inhabited, trust was often a currency more valuable than money, and one had to guard it fiercely. Yet, there was something about Alexander Cavendish that seemed to crack the walls she had so carefully built. His laughter was intoxicating, his compliments artfully tailored, and his attention unwavering in a way that made her feel like the only person in the room. Victoria, whose life had been dictated by schedules and strategies, found herself staying longer at events, anticipating his presence, even imagining what life could be like if she allowed herself to fall completely. Alexander, of course, was well aware of her fascination. He leaned into it, his charm sharpened by an unspoken motive, hiding the dark ambitions that simmered beneath his polished exterior. As the weeks unfolded, their encounters became increasingly personal. Private dinners, late-night drives through London's foggy streets, and whispered promises of love drew Victoria into a world she had never dared explore. She began to spend recklessly, indulging Alexander's every whim, buying extravagant gifts, and making him the center of her universe. Friends noticed a change, whispering warnings, but Victoria dismissed them, convinced that love had finally found her. Alexander's smile never wavered, his touch never faltered, yet behind the allure was a plan meticulously crafted. His aim was clear, to claim Victoria's empire as his own. The glittering world she adored was about to become a cage, one from which her survival would depend on the most unexpected of heroes. Their whirlwind romance culminated in a lavish engagement that shook London's elite. The announcement at a private garden soiree was met with admiration, envy, and speculation. Victoria Stanton, the queen of high society, had fallen for the rogue Alexander Cavendish, whose charm masked his cold ambitions. Yet, while the city celebrated, Alexander quietly cemented his control over her attention, gently isolating her from friends who might notice his ulterior motives. Victoria, blind in love, welcomed him into every corner of her life, unaware that each gesture of devotion on his part was a step in a carefully orchestrated plan to claim her wealth. The couple's public appearances were picture-perfect, each smile and embrace meticulously calculated to present an image of consummate happiness. Behind closed doors, however, Alexander's mind spun with schemes. He studied Victoria's routines, observed her security measures, and imagined the perfect moment to execute the ultimate betrayal. He relished the irony that the woman who commanded thousands of employees, who held the reins of an empire in her hands, was utterly powerless against the man she loved. For Alexander, the yacht was the final piece of his plan, a symbol of luxury that would also be the stage for his cruelest act. Victoria, meanwhile, remained blissfully unaware, her heart full, her trust absolute, not realizing that love could be weaponized with such precision. The storm was gathering, and London's skyline, bathed in golden evening light, concealed a tragedy poised to erupt. It was a crisp Friday evening when Alexander extended the invitation that would change everything. "You've been working tirelessly, Victoria," he had said with an intimate smile. "You deserve a night to unwind, just the two of us on the Thames. A private yacht dinner. I promise. It'll be unforgettable." Victoria, exhausted from weeks of board meetings and negotiations, welcomed the idea. A night away from the relentless demands of Stanton Enterprises, accompanied by the man she believed adored her, felt like a dream come true. She never suspected that the dream was a carefully disguised nightmare. The yacht gleamed under the fading sun, its polished deck a facade for the dark intentions lurking in Alexander's mind. As they boarded, Alexander's charm was in full display. He poured champagne, complimented her attire, and spoke with such tenderness that Victoria's heart swelled. Every gesture, every whisper, was calculated to deepen her trust, to lower her guard. She laughed, oblivious to danger, her worries melting like mist in the evening breeze. Alexander's eyes, however, gleamed with something far darker than love. He had already imagined the moment he would throw her into the cold river waters, picturing the shock, the fear, and the finality of his scheme. Little did he know, the river held a witness, a man whose courage and instinct would turn his plan on its head. The dinner was exquisite, a tableau of opulence against the twilight sky. Alexander toasted to their love, his hand resting on Victoria's, firm yet sinister in its restraint. For a brief moment, Victoria believed the world had paused from Malone. The gentle sway of the yacht, the reflection of city lights on the water, and the soft music from the onboard speakers created an illusion of perfection. Alexander leaned closer, his voice a velvet caress, whispering promises of forever. And then, in a heartbeat, it happened. Without warning, he shoved her over the railing. Victoria screamed, the sound swallowed by the river's icy embrace. Her hands clawed the water, her breath sharp and desperate, but Alexander's laughter rang above the waves. Unknown to him, Ethan Harper, a fisherman and diver, had been passing by. He had come to retrieve a forgotten net, a trivial errand that would become destiny's intervention. Seeing Victoria struggle, his instincts overrode hesitation. He dove into the frigid waters without a second thought, battling the current, reaching her in time to pull her to safety. On the riverbank, he performed Sipar, his hands working tirelessly as Victoria's chest heaved violently, life hanging by a fragile thread. Minutes passed like hours, until she coughed, gasping, eyes wide with terror. She was alive, though frail and shaken, her mind flooded with betrayal and fear. In that moment, a silent promise formed in her heart. Alexander Cavendish would pay for every cruel action, and survival was only the beginning. Ethan Harper's modest riverside hut became Victoria's sanctuary. The former heiress, accustomed to penthouses and private jets, now lay on a rough wooden bed, draped in a simple blanket, while the man who had saved her hovered with unrelenting care. Her body ached, her spirit trembled, yet beneath the exhaustion simmered a growing determination. She was determined to reclaim her life, her empire, and deliver justice to the man who had tried to erase her from the world. Ethan's compassion and unwavering presence offered a new kind of strength, one that wealth had never provided. In his quiet, unassuming way, he became her anchor, the first person to see her not as a billionaire, but as a survivor. Meanwhile, Alexander, believing his plan had succeeded flawlessly, celebrated. He informed Stanton Enterprises that Victoria had tragically perished, weaving a story of a fatal accident. Board members, devastated by the loss, appointed him as acting head of the empire, trusting his grief as genuine. He attended gala preparations with smug anticipation, oblivious that the woman he sought to destroy was alive, growing stronger and ready to return. Victoria, hidden from the world, began to strategize. Every detail of her recovery was meticulous, strengthening her body, sharpening her mind, and imagining the exact moment of confrontation. The stage was being set for a reckoning, and London society had no inkling of the storm that was about to descend upon them. As Victoria regained her strength, She observed the world from the shadows. News of the gala, Alexander's temporary ascension to power, and the continued mourning of the elite reached her through discreet channels. Her heart, though scarred, beat with renewed resolve. She had survived a near-death betrayal, and every whispered conversation about her supposed demise fueled her determination to reclaim her life. Ethan, patient and steadfast, helped her navigate the mundane realities of survival, preparing food, tending injuries, and maintaining secrecy. Yet beyond his quiet care, he respected her independence, never overstepping the boundaries of her pride, and allowing her to plot a return on her own terms. Meanwhile, Alexander thrived in his newfound control, unaware of the eyes that were now watching him. His arrogance blinded him, and he continued to indulge in reckless celebrations, believing he had bested fate itself. Board members, too trusting, supported his decisions, unaware that the empire's true ruler was alive, hidden, and preparing a masterstroke. Each passing day increased the suspense, drawing Victoria closer to the moment when she would reveal herself. The contrast between Alexander's false triumph and Victoria's quiet, calculated resurgence was stark, and it made the anticipation almost unbearable for anyone who might have known the truth. The pieces were in motion, and soon the grand reveal would shock London to its core. Victoria's mind became a fortress of strategy. Each moment of vulnerability during her recovery transformed into mental rehearsal. The gala, Alexander's smug expressions, the world's awe at her supposed death. She imagined every possible scenario, dissected his every action, and calculated the perfect timing for exposure. The experience of betrayal had ignited in her a sharp clarity. She was no longer the woman who had been seduced by charm and wealth. She was a tactician, a force of will, and a storm cloaked in elegance. With Ethan by her side, she gained access to discreet intelligence about Alexander's movements, his social calendar, and his plans for Stanton Enterprises. Every revelation strengthened her resolve, and her confidence grew alongside her anticipation of justice. Ethan, though initially hesitant about stepping into a world of corporate intrigue, recognized Victoria's unwavering determination. His humble upbringing and practical skills complemented her strategic brilliance. Together, they devised a plan not only to expose Alexander, but to reclaim her empire without risking another confrontation at sea. Victoria's heart, though cautious, also acknowledged a budding trust and admiration for Ethan. He had saved her life when no one else could, and his loyalty was untainted by greed. The stage was being meticulously prepared for the ultimate reversal of fortune, where deception would be met with truth, cruelty with justice, and love, real love, would emerge victorious in the shadows of betrayal. The day of the gala arrived like a storm on the horizon. London's elite gathered in anticipation, unaware that the centerpiece of the event, Alexander Cavendish, was basking in false triumph. The grand ballroom glittered with chandeliers, polished floors reflecting the ambitions and insecurities of hundreds. Everyone whispered about Victoria Stanton's tragic passing, and Alexander, ever performer, played his role flawlessly, grief-stricken, composed, and subtly asserting authority over the empire. Little did he know, the woman he sought to destroy had been orchestrating the evening from the shadows, preparing to upend not only his life, but the very narrative he had crafted for the world. Victoria's arrival, shrouded in elegance and mystery, sent ripples through the crowd. She stepped into the ballroom with quiet confidence, her presence commanding attention. Alexander froze, disbelief etching his face as he recognized the woman he had tried to kill. Gasps echoed through the room as whispers of her miraculous survival spread like wildfire. Every detail, from her attire to her composed demeanor, signaled that she was no longer a victim. She had returned not only to reclaim her empire, but to expose the deceit of the man who had betrayed her. The tension was electric, every eye fixed on the confrontation about to unfold, a showdown that would mark the end of Alexander's reign and the beginning of Victoria's triumphant return. Victoria approached Alexander, her gaze sharp and unwavering. The crowd held its breath, sensing the confrontation's gravity. She recounted the yacht incident with icy precision, narrating Alexander's betrayal, his attempt on her life, and his deceit in assuming control of Stanton Enterprises. The room, initially stunned, erupted into murmurs, disbelief, and outrage. Alexander, caught in the full glare of truth, stammered, his charm evaporating into panic. Security moved in and the authorities, already alerted by Victoria's meticulous planning, placed him under arrest. The man who had thought himself untouchable was now a prisoner of his own arrogance, humiliated before the entire city that once admired him. With Alexander's downfall complete, Victoria turned to Ethan, the man who had been her lifeline and ally. Their bond, forged in the crucible of survival and nurtured in secrecy, blossomed into love. Together, they celebrated not just victory but the promise of a new life, one built on trust, courage, and genuine affection. Stanton Enterprises, once a stage for deceit, now thrived under Victoria's competent hand, her empire stronger for having survived the storm. Ethan, once an orphan fisherman, now stood beside her as a partner in life and love, proving that courage, integrity, and true devotion could triumph over greed, betrayal, and darkness. London had witnessed the fall of a villain and the rise of a heroine, a tale that would be remembered for generations to come. Victoria Stanton's life after Alexander's arrest was a delicate balance of regaining normalcy and fortifying her empire. The public, still reeling from the shocking revelation at the gala, treated her with a mixture of awe and respect. Media outlets hailed her survival and cunning, portraying her as a symbol of resilience and intelligence. Internally, Victoria focused on Stanton Enterprises, scrutinizing financial statements, restructuring operations, and restoring confidence among her staff. The betrayal she endured had sharpened her instincts, making her a more vigilant and formidable leader. While London marveled at her triumph, only a few knew the quiet sanctuary where she and Ethan planned a future that had been stolen from her. Ethan Harper, though still adjusting to the sudden whirlwind of wealth and attention, proved invaluable in Victoria's journey. His grounded perspective, honesty, and unwavering support became her anchor, offering emotional stability amidst the turbulence of public scrutiny. Victoria appreciated his presence, not just as a rescuer, but as a partner in decision-making in life. Together, they navigated the challenges of integrating him into her world without losing the essence of the man who had saved her from death. Their relationship grew beyond gratitude or survival. It evolved into a partnership built on trust, admiration, and the kind of love Victoria had never known before Alexander's deception. The shadow of the past loomed, but for the first time in years, Victoria felt fully in control of her destiny. Despite Alexander's incarceration, whispers of his influence lingered. Some employees and business associates feared retaliation or legal entanglements, while rival companies sought to exploit any perceived weakness in Stanton Enterprises. Victoria remained vigilant, ensuring that her empire's stability was never compromised. Every board meeting, every contract negotiation, and every public appearance was carefully calculated to project authority and confidence. Yet, beneath her composed exterior, Victoria wrestled with memories of betrayal and the vulnerability that had nearly cost her life. She knew that her triumph was not just about wealth. It was about reclaiming autonomy and proving that no man could wield power over her again. Meanwhile, Alexander plotted from prison, consumed by bitterness and rage. He could not fathom that the woman he had attempted to destroy not only survived but flourished. Rumors of her life with Ethan, her command over Stanton Enterprises, and her unmatched public image tormented him, fueling fantasies of revenge. Yet, every scheme he considered was rendered impotent by Victoria's foresight and meticulous planning. Each time he tried to manipulate or intimidate from behind bars, the court system and her legal team ensured that his power was null. Victoria had transformed not only her personal life, but the structural safeguards around her empire, ensuring that deceit and betrayal could never undermine her again. Life settled into a rhythm of rebuilding and celebration for Victoria and Ethan. They spent quiet mornings overlooking the Thames, discussing future expansions for Stanton Enterprises and planning philanthropic initiatives that aligned with Victoria's vision. While the city buzzed with gossip about Alexander's downfall, the couple found solace in the mundane, cooking meals together, sharing stories of childhood, and learning to navigate the complexities of a blended world of wealth and humble beginnings. Each shared experience deepened their connection, proving that love born from adversity could surpass the superficial passions that had defined Victoria's past. Ethan's presence brought a sense of grounding that Victoria had never known. Her heart, once manipulated and betrayed, healed with each gesture of sincerity he offered. They complemented each other. Victoria's strategic mind and leadership acumen balanced by Ethan's empathy, resilience, and practicality. In a world dominated by appearances and ambition, their partnership embodied authenticity, trust, and loyalty. Even as the shadow of Alexander's treachery lingered, it became a reminder of how far Victoria had come. Their life together was no longer defined by fear or deception, but by choice, love, and a mutual commitment to a future they would shape together. Victoria, now a stronger and wiser CEO, began expanding Stanton Enterprises into new ventures. Hotels in the heart of London received major renovations, and new tech investments promised substantial returns. With Ethan's practical insights, she implemented sustainable initiatives, earning praise from environmental advocates and investors alike. Her success story dominated headlines, inspiring countless individuals who had faced adversity. Victoria's personal narrative became intertwined with her professional triumph, creating a persona that was respected, admired, and envied. Her careful stewardship of Stanton Enterprises proved that she had not only survived but thrived beyond the reach of betrayal. Ethan, once a fisherman with modest means, became an integral part of this transformation. He managed aspects of the company that benefited from his practical knowledge and down-to-earth perspective. Despite his newfound role, he never lost the humility that had first captivated Victoria. Their love flourished in tandem with the business, blending ambition and compassion. Every gala, corporate meeting, and public announcement became a shared endeavor, reinforcing their bond and showcasing a modern power couple that balanced wealth, ethics, and genuine partnership. The world watched as Victoria Stanton's empire reached unprecedented heights, and alongside her, Ethan evolved into a respected figure in his own right. Not all challenges came from external sources. Some board members, wary of Ethan's sudden prominence, began to question his role and influence. They saw him as an outsider, untested and inexperienced in the cutthroat environment of corporate London. Victoria, however, knew the depth of his character and the loyalty that had saved her life. She defended him in meetings, reinforced his contributions, and reminded her team that trust was earned through integrity, not social standing. These small internal conflicts tested Victoria's leadership, but they also solidified her reputation as a decisive and fair leader, unwilling to compromise justice or loyalty for convenience. Ethan, aware of the scrutiny, did not allow it to deter him. He continued to contribute quietly but effectively, earning respect through results rather than rhetoric. The couple faced these trials united, presenting a front that was both commanding and collaborative. Victoria's unwavering belief in Ethan's abilities became a symbol of her personal growth. She no longer needed to navigate the world alone or second-guess the intentions of those around her. Their bond, forged in crisis, now endured challenges of a different kind: scrutiny, envy, and the pressures of newfound power. Together, they proved that love, trust, and resilience could overcome obstacles that money or influence could not. Alexander's legal appeals dragged on, a reminder that the past was never fully erased. Despite his incarceration, his lawyers attempted to manipulate loopholes, challenging the outcomes of certain business decisions and trying to regain some influence over Stanton Enterprises. Victoria faced these threats with steely resolve, engaging top legal counsel to anticipate every move. Each attempt Alexander made to destabilize her empire only reinforced her vigilance and strengthened her control. The lessons from betrayal had left an indelible mark. She now anticipated deception, neutralized threats before they could escalate, and acted with the precision of a strategist seasoned by pain. Ethan's calm support remained Victoria's anchor during these turbulent times. He offered perspective, empathy, and strategic insight when legal and corporate pressures threatened to overwhelm her. Together, they navigated a labyrinth of litigation and media speculation, emerging with a reputation for resilience and intelligence. Their partnership was no longer just personal but professional, reflecting a deep trust and complementary skill set. Victoria realized that true power lay not merely in wealth, but in the ability to withstand adversity, protect one's interests, and rise above the shadows of past betrayals. As the city of London marveled at Stanton Enterprises' resilience, Victoria and Ethan's personal relationship blossomed. Their shared experiences, fear, survival, strategy, and triumph, had created an unbreakable bond. Romantic dinners on quiet rooftops replaced yacht escapades, each moment steeped in authenticity and intimacy. Victoria reveled in the fact that her heart was no longer manipulated by charm or greed, and Ethan proved daily that love could be selfless, supportive, and transformative. The contrast between her past with Alexander and her present with Ethan underscored the depth of personal growth she had achieved. Ethan, once an observer of the wealthy elite, now stood confidently by Victoria's side. He had learned to navigate the social and professional expectations of her world without losing his identity. Their love was no longer a product of rescue or gratitude. It was a partnership of equals, built on mutual respect, shared experiences, and unwavering loyalty. The scars of betrayal had become the foundation for a stronger, wiser, and more resilient love. In each other, they found security, passion, and a sense of purpose that transcended wealth, status, or societal expectation. Victoria turned her attention to expanding Stanton enterprises beyond the city, opening branches in Europe, and investing in innovative technologies. Her leadership style had evolved. Compassionate yet firm, visionary yet detail-oriented. Ethan contributed by bridging gaps between corporate strategy and practical execution, turning small innovations into profitable ventures. Together, they became a symbol of effective leadership and personal integrity, proving that collaboration and trust could amplify success beyond the traditional confines of wealth and influence. The public lauded their achievements, and the press frequently featured the couple as an example of love overcoming adversity. Victoria's experience with Alexander became a cautionary tale, but her rise from betrayal to dominance inspired countless individuals in business and beyond. She had not only survived the ultimate personal and professional betrayal, but had used it to propel herself into new realms of influence and personal fulfillment. Through this journey, Victoria and Ethan exemplified resilience, the transformative power of love, and the triumph of strategic intelligence over greed and manipulation. Though Alexander remained incarcerated, he continued to dream of vengeance. Victoria, now fully aware of his persistent threats, decided to confront the remnants of his influence decisively. She held a private meeting with board members and legal authorities, exposing every deceit and manipulation he had attempted from prison. Alexander's name, once synonymous with charm and power, became associated with betrayal and failure. Every avenue he had considered to regain influence was permanently sealed, leaving him powerless and humiliated. Victoria's actions served as both closure and a testament to her transformation. Ethan, her partner in life and strategy, stood beside her, proud of the woman who had once been victimized but now wielded unparalleled authority and wisdom. Their enemies, colleagues, and even the city of London witnessed her full emergence as a leader who had faced mortal danger, personal betrayal, and professional jeopardy and had triumphed. The past, once a haunting shadow, now reinforced her strength and solidified the future she would share with Ethan. Victoria Stanton and Ethan Harper's life settled into a harmonious rhythm of love, leadership, and legacy building. Stanton Enterprises flourished under their guidance, blending innovation, ethics, and profit. They became a power couple whose relationship was admired not for spectacle, but for authenticity, resilience, and shared vision. Victoria, once nearly destroyed by deceit, had reclaimed her life, heart, and empire, turning a tale of betrayal into one of triumph and hope. Their story, from the icy waters of the Thames to boardroom dominance, became a legend in London society. Victoria and Ethan's bond exemplified the triumph of love, trust, and courage over greed, manipulation, and cruelty. The couple's journey illustrated that true strength comes from resilience, that loyalty can transform lives, and that love forged in adversity is unbreakable. They had survived, conquered, and ultimately thrived, proof that even in the darkest of moments, justice, love, and perseverance could prevail. London would remember Victoria Stanton not just as a billionaire, but as a survivor, a strategist, and a woman whose courage inspired generations. That's all for today. Like, subscribe, and see you in the next episode. Stay tuned.